people are what makes life. If you don't meet people, if you don't talk to people, if you don't engage, you're never going to have the same opportunities. You can't just study life, you need to live it. Life is a game to be played, not studied. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, I'm Julia, I'm 21, and most of this channel consists of traveling basically. So if you've been watching for a while, you will probably notice that I solo travel quite a bit. And personally, I absolutely love it. And I know that a lot of people have fear and anxiety surrounding that. So I'm here to tell you how I romanticize it, all the reasons I love it, and why you should love it too. I guess I'll start with some obvious reasons. So first of all, it forces you to meet new people. When you're by yourself, you know, sometimes you appreciate that time, but also sometimes you want to share it with someone else. Or if you want to experience the nightlife and you want to go to the club, you're not going to go by yourself. You need to find someone. And I found that when solo traveling, this is kind of one of the parts that excites me the most, meeting new people. I think the best example of this that I have is when I lived in Barcelona for a month around 2 years ago. I guess because Barcelona is one of them places where no one really stays for longer than a few days, it gave me the chance to constantly meet new people, because every time I met someone, I would then go out with them and then they would fly back home. So it was like a constant cycle, but you know what? It kept things exciting and it kept things fun. And sometimes I would meet these people organically. And on the flip side, sometimes you can meet people through apps. If you don't already know about Bumble BFF, that's an amazing way to meet people when you're traveling. So for example, there was a club night where Tiger was performing and I really wanted to go, but I thought, I'm not going to the club by myself. Like, that might be where I draw the line. And it's not even as much about anxiety and fear, but more so safety. Like, I just thought that, probably not safe. And so I went on Bumble BFF, I created an account, and I basically said, like, I'm looking for a friend to just party with, like. And then I met a German girl. I met up with her the next day to just go out for drinks. And she met up with a few other German girls. She also met on Bumble BFF. And then the next night, we all went for Tiger together. So it's kind of just making use of the resources you have around you, because there's so many people to meet. You're never really going to be alone if you don't want to be. And if you travel by yourself, that choice is ultimately yours to make. If you want to spend that whole time by yourself, you can do that. If you want to meet other people, you can also do that. Sometimes when I was bored, I would go on Hinge and go on a date. Like, honestly, world is your oyster, guys. World's your oyster. And so many of the friendships and relationships that I've made through traveling have then led to other things. Everything you do and everyone you meet can lead to such new doors and new opportunities. It forces you to kind of experience a world that you otherwise wouldn't have experienced. Another thing is just freedom. Why would you let other people put your life on pause? Let's say you want to go travel, I don't know, you want to go to Vietnam, and you've asked all your friends, and they were like, no, I don't have money, I don't have time, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Now you don't go. Why would you do that? Why would you put your life on pause just because someone doesn't have the money, doesn't want to go, or isn't open-minded enough to go to the country you want to go to? Why would you let that impact your experience? Just get up and go. Because at the end of the day, with or without them, you can still have a blast. And like I said, you can so easily meet people out there. And places like Vietnam as well, anywhere in Southeast Asia, Central America, hostels. If you stay in the hostel, by default, you're going to meet so many people. Like, I feel like I've always kind of done it the hard way, because I've never stayed in a hostel. So I have to meet people through other ways, just like relying on my confidence and talking to them in the streets. But you don't need to do that. You can stay in a hostel, you can meet people there. Like, it's really so easy, because you forget that there's so many other people that are in the same situation as you, and they are also looking for a friend, and they are also looking for someone to spend time with. If you just think about how many doors meeting one person could open for you, it could really change your life. Maybe you could meet your future employer. Maybe you could meet your future boyfriend or your future husband. You can meet a friend that introduces you to someone who introduces you to someone who introduces you to someone that's going to be the love of your life. You don't know that. You never know until you try it and you talk to these people. And I just personally believe that people are what makes life. If you don't meet people, if you don't talk to people, if you don't engage, you're never going to have the same opportunities. You can't just study life. You need to live it. Life is a game to be played, not studied. Another thing that I kind of love when I solo travel is just people watching. I love to just sit there and watch in like the most normal way possible. I think a lot of us grow up in communities where everyone kind of thinks the same, eats the same, talks the same, listens to the same music, goes to the same events, la-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. And when that's all you're exposed to in life, you kind of tend to think that's what everyone is like. If you don't see the other side of it, you will naturally think this is what everyone is thinking, this is what everyone is doing. Anything outside of that is not normal. Now, I'm the kind of person where I like to expose myself to everything. I want to see every single culture. I want to hear every single opinion. I want to expose myself to as much as I can and then form my opinions so that I don't have that inner bias in my head. And through traveling and sometimes just sitting back and watching life go forward from a third person perspective, you really kind of get to see how different people interact, how different cultures live their lives. There's so much to learn and there's so much that you just wouldn't know unless you take a step back and you observe. If what you're living right now isn't what you want, there is always something else. You can so easily change that. Somewhere where you feel like an outlier, there is another community out there where you would be easily one of them. And unless you expose yourself to that and you see those differences, you're never going to know that. Traveling by yourself also kind of forces you to learn new things, because I think sometimes when you're with friends or with family, you're so caught up in the fun, you don't have time to actually do the observing. And through that observation, you learn things that other people might not catch. And I think that also partly comes with like the more you travel, the more you kind of have this cultural understanding of things. Sometimes people won't see things as clearly as you do. And sometimes it's just little things, like you can hear other people's experiences of certain countries or their perceptions or stereotypes, but you'll never really know the truth until you go there and see it for yourself. And sometimes you can go there, and this has happened to me countless times. I go to a country that, you know, is either like extremely hyped up or everyone says is like, there's nothing to see, there's nothing to do. And you will have a completely different opinion of it and a completely different experience to everyone else that's been there. For example, I'm not someone that necessarily likes traveling in Europe. I think the further you go, the richer the experience and the more different it is to anything you've ever experienced before. But I found that, for example, Thailand and Zanzibar felt a bit overrated to me, whereas Rome or Barcelona genuinely lived up to their expectations. And it's just things like that. Like I said, I never necessarily liked traveling in Europe, but the countries that had a huge impact on me were European countries, and the countries that, you know, you think are amazing honeymoon destinations are actually not all that it may seem. Sometimes people focus only on the positives, or a lot of people actually only just stay in resorts and they don't go outside to see the real life. And if that's what you do, then naturally you're never going to understand the country and you're never going to widen your perspective. And again, I guess all of this kind of comes back to that observation aspect. Having the chance to step back and observe as opposed to being in it gives you such a different perspective on life. Sometimes you get so caught up in the chaos of it all that you're just trying to swim. You don't have time to look into the sea. Do you know what I mean? So to conclude, in my opinion, I think solo traveling is the best thing you can do just to widen your perspective on life and observe and understand other cultures and how other people live. And not even just cultures, but within one culture, there can be so many communities and so many different ways people live their life. And unless you put yourself in a position where you're forced to both observe and interact, you are never going to fully understand and you're never going to get the full experience. And that, guys, is why I think everybody should solo travel. That's how I romanticize it. And honestly, just make yourself feel like you're in a movie or watching a movie. Honestly, I feel like the whole point of solo travel is just to navigate between both. Being in the movie, watching a movie, in the movie, watching a movie. And just remember, no one is looking at you. No one thinks you look sad and lonely. Or maybe they do. Maybe people look at me and they think that. But realistically, I've never felt that way and I've never really cared. Because at the end of the day, you don't know those people. You're probably never going to see them again. Who cares what they think? And most importantly, don't wait for no one. So those are the valuable words of Julia. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and a comment and subscribe if you don't already, and I'll see you in the next one.